After high school, I went to work in a few F&B places, part-time and everything. Then that's where I started, F&B is not that bad. Of course, when I work part-time, a lot of those managers or chefs, they told me, why don't you go try to get a certificate course, see if you really like it. Then I went to get a certificate course. After that, I went overseas and I came back. And starting, there's a lot of starts. First start, of course, you start in the culinary kitchen world. But that's where I started another thing. I started to see different cultures, different food, how they actually prepare, how they eat, how their style of eating, they eat like certain dishes that we don't. And it started another experience there. Of course, everywhere I go, it has a new start to everything. And when I went to Singapore, that's where I started to venture into the really fine dining scene. My inspiration comes from everywhere. For instance, hobbies also can be an inspiration, like aquarium. Sometimes I see the aquarium, the balance, you cannot have too many fish in one small aquarium, or you cannot have too many plants, or the water parameters. It's all about balance, and that inspired me in doing my dishes as well. It has to have a balance in taste, in presentation-wise. One thing must not be too heavy, one thing must not be too light, even with pairing-wise. So balance is something I got inspired from aquariums. I see some people, when they do gardening, when they do bonsai, they are trying to take a very big tree and make it small. And they put it in a pot. And that is so crazy. You see, it's like, wow, that is a big tree, but it's so small. That can inspire me as well. Why don't I take something big, miniaturize it, make it small, put it on a plate, make it look so crazy that people go, wow, that is all inspirations, that is all imaginations. Every chef has a dream to start something, their own restaurant, their small thing, to make a name for themselves. That was my first intention. Then I asked, of course, advice from my previous chefs. They all told me more or less the same thing. Go back to where you started and start something small from there. A few of my chefs inspired me how to use ingredients, how to be proud of your own country's ingredients, how to be proud of your own country's cultures, food scene and everything. So after that, I was thinking, why don't I really come back Penang and try something?
I've always been very interested and admire people that wants to pursue their own way of life, their own path, dare to try something for themselves. So I was super supportive lah. I told him yeah, I think you should. Then he told me, I'm thinking of doing something called Omakase. Then I'm like, isn't Omakase sushi? He's like, no. I just want to adopt the idea of chef dictating, conducting, cooking what he wants to express and to serve and to give his guests.
My first exposure to omakase was when I was in Singapore. At first, I was quite skeptical. I'm not going to pay for something that I don't know what I'm going to get. That was my first thinking. But then after a while, I get to realize that actually it's a very good way for chefs to express their creativity, their ideas, and their skill sets into a plate and serve it to people. And this is the thing that I want to bring back this concept to Penang, to let people know more about chefs, because we also want to express a lot of things into a plate, and that's what we want to do. We want to really express everything and serve it to you.
At that time, I was doing branding. I was like, okay, if you want to do it, I want to be involved, because I was super interested. It sounded like a crazy idea, and I always like crazy ideas.
He does all those kind of back-end things, and he's the one that always gives me advice. He's the one that always tells us that the things we need to hear. Aaron is my childhood friend, and he is the guy that surprisingly supports another crazy guy's idea.
He was always someone that is very passionate and very obsessive about things he likes. When he told me he wanted to start a restaurant, I was mainly very interested to see what this person is going to produce. I knew he was an interesting character, I knew he was creative, and I knew he was passionate. It was just very interesting for me to see what this seed is going to bloom into.
So as my chef always tell me, your world is your imagination. Don't let it fade, don't let it die. So after a lot of ideas, discussions, inputs, we decided to come up with a small place, Omakase-style. Make people feel relaxed, chill, they come enjoy the food. Then we started a place called A.Maze.
I want to leave you amazed when you leave the maze.
I always believe two things that actually touch people, regardless of race, religion, language, music and food. I mean, you don't need to really explain to people about music. People hear, they like it. Certain musics, they are in other languages, but everyone knows it. Food, everyone that eats it, it just connects to people. Yeah, you don't need to really say this, say that. Food and music is always something that connects people.